Electric cars are quite obviously all the rage these days. You can't move for another EV SUV being launched basically every Tuesday. But do you ever get the feeling that they're not really pushing the boundaries? I mean, if you're being particularly unkind, you might say that the EVs basically look like slightly newer versions of the cars with engines, except they're a bit quieter and cause more panic on the internet. The thing is, an electric drivetrain and electricity is a lot less linear than a mechanical drivetrain. So if you really set your mind to it, you can do properly crazy things. Which is why I think we should meet the Emily GT, because this is a car that might change the way we design vehicles forever. Why? Because this thing has 4 electric motors, but they're not here or here. They're not here or in here. And that's because they're all in here, in the wheels.
Yep, this car has what's called in-wheel or hub electric motors, and all the control units are stuffed inside there in front of the brake disc. That's literally everything you need, apart from the battery, obviously, packaged up inside an 18-inch wheel. And the results are, spectacular. But first, a bit of background, because this car's story is more than a little bit interesting, and a bit complicated. Because this is basically the Saab that never was, or hasn't been, yet. It starts with bankrupt Saab being bought by Nevs, National Electric Vehicle Sweden, back in 2012, and then being taken over by Chinese megacorp Evergrande Group in 2019, before running into complicated financial wobbles of its own. Saab engineers and designers, some 350 of them, were all variously left in a kind of limbo. And like all good creative types, they basically decided to make stuff. After a ridiculously short 10 months of gestation, the Emily GT was born. 175 kilowatt hour, 424 brake horsepower, 621 mile range super saloon with nowhere to go, caught in manufacturing limbo. And yes, you could have one with even more power, or a more affordable one with less battery. But this one does 0 to 62 miles an hour in 4.6 seconds, so it's probably quick enough.
It looks pretty good, right? Though you do see some bits of Saab in parts of the styling, especially this big, thick C-pillar that runs into a semi-floating roof with this blacked out A-pillar here, even though that does make more sense in different colours rather than grey and black. It's a weird car in that it's quite a lot bigger than you think, so it's Tesla Model S Lucid Air type big. And the front is very much an EV face. It's kind of big and swoopy with these swept back headlights that come back into an almost slab-sided body. It's quite a bulky car. The one thing you do notice though, when you look at it, it's got minimum overhangs, maximum wheelbase. Still, I think it's a pretty good looking thing. And inside, it's just as interesting. There's huge space, which is really exciting, and loads of de rigueur 3D printed parts which help with that short gestation period of just 10 months. But everything works. This is a big touchscreen, that works. There's a driver information display, and all the controls on the steering wheel work as well. You get the feeling that those Saab engineers compulsively made something that was really very interesting and yet not entirely unproduction. Although this is a prototype, it feels quite real. It's got huge rear seat space, albeit only 4 seats. This is basically like a limo. It's even got a pretty big boot. And a frunk.
But the best bit about Emily isn't actually the way it looks, it's the way it moves. You see, involved in the project was a company called Protean Electric, headed up by a bloke called Andrew Whitehead.
So Andrew, what exactly is an in-wheel motor?
So Tom, an in-wheel motor is, in our case, a permanent magnet synchronous motor with all the integrated power and control electronics that you need to drive the motor and the software inside a wheel, including all the suspension, brakes, wheel bearing, everything else that you would expect in there. And it lives, as it says, inside the wheel of the car. The larger the wheel, the more power and performance that you can get. We have a product that fits inside an 18-inch wheel, and we're delivering inside that 18-inch wheel 85, 90 kilowatts, which is 110, 120 horsepower, and 1500 newton meters of torque inside that an 18-inch wheel. The product is power and torque dense. Yeah, you're delivering a lot of performance in a relatively small space. We've fitted them on commercial vehicles, we've fitted them on Land Rovers, we've fitted them on vehicles like this, we've fitted them on golf-size vehicles, We've even fit them on a 8-ton military transporter. So yes, they are kind of designed to fit on anything with wheels. You need a battery to power the motors, but the battery in this car is under where we sit, which is the kind of normal position for a battery in an electric vehicle, but also it exists in between the wheels at the front and the rear, because what normally exists there, an electric axle, or EDU as it's called, is now in the wheels where our products are. So there's extra space for the batteries in this vehicle, which is why we can deliver over 1,000 kilometers range. The absolute performance that we're delivering in this vehicle is similar to other electric vehicles. The difference is that the performance has been delivered right there at the wheel. Because the motors in this vehicle are right at the wheel, you can almost instantly deliver whatever you want. So we can define a vehicle that can be as responding as fast as a Formula One racing car, or as slow as you would like your granny's runaround to respond, with the software definition and no other changes of any hardware. There are other physical limitations in that there's a suspension system, and that controls also how the vehicle feels. Within the limitations of the suspension and the chassis, we can switch this vehicle from being understeering to oversteering to neutral through the software, much more so than you can in other similar vehicles. So we're adding 35 kilograms to the corner of each of these vehicles. You can't just do that and not care about it. So there is some recalibration, retuning of the suspension needed. Typically, in vehicles today, we find there is actually quite a wide range of unsprung masses on general vehicles. And what happens is that you're interested in the ratio of the sprung mass of the vehicle, so that's the stuff above the springs are sitting on, and the unsprung mass, which is anything below the springs between the wheel and the springs. Yeah. And provided that we can keep that ratio within a manageable range, we can use things like damper settings and tweaking springs and bushes to recover any performance that the vehicle might have lost. Yeah. And then you add onto that the really quick control, and you end up with a vehicle that actually should be a higher performing vehicle than the one that you started with. So architecturally in the vehicle, there are a lot of changes that you can make by using this technology, because now you don't have an axle that defines where the wheels go. So you can do things like, you can move the cab forward, which is what vehicle designers talk about, and that gives you a more aerodynamic shape to the vehicle. You don't need to package the batteries completely under the rear seats because there's more space. That allows you to bring the roof line down. Electric vehicles today are very tall, pushes big hole through the air. And all of these features also add to mass reduction. So more aerodynamic, lighter. The wheel motors also are slightly more efficient because they don't have gears, which take losses. And that all leads to a vehicle that's able to transport a unit of volume in a much more efficient way from A to B, less consumption. So that means less charging, smaller batteries for a given range, lower cost, all these benefits that consumers will reap in the end. What with this technology you're able to deliver is kind of a Mercedes E-Class interior space and comfort and roominess in a Volkswagen Golf footprint.
If I've got an electric motor inside my wheel and it has to drive around, going through potholes and getting covered in mud and water, are they reliable?
The short answer is yes, they have to last because of the industry they work in, but it's not easy. You know, we've been at this game for close to 15 years and we spent a large part of that learning by breaking things and learning new requirements and new tests, and oh, we hadn't thought about that and that breaks. So we test the motor extensively, and we know the designs that work and we know the designs that don't work. So, you know, just as an example, we have to take a motor that's running at full temperature and dunk it in a meter of ice water 20 times, and it still has to work and function and not work. We come to places like this and we test the motor on vehicles, going over potholes, going through pave, going through mud and slurry. So there's an extensive program of testing because durability is a hygiene factor, as we say. You have to achieve it, otherwise you don't have a product in this industry.
And as far as it goes, this feels like just a normal electric super saloon. It's fast, so if I put my foot down, it's really quite quick, but there's nothing strange about the way it steers, about the way it goes around a corner, about the way it brakes. It's even got nice regen braking. In fact, The best thing I can say about it is that it feels completely normal. This doesn't feel strange. It's a really good thing. But the interesting stuff happens when you start to play with it. So I'm going to go through a slalom now and see how this torque vectoring with the in-wheel motors actually works. There's 65. Wow! Now this is a really big car, and you definitely wouldn't think it would go through it. And now, I'm actually going to switch it off. So that now is in a setting where the torque vectoring will not work. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to go through this slalom and see what happens. Oh, well, I completely missed the second cone. So there you go, that's it, not working. That's incredible. Of course, there are other applications for this stuff. This Defender is fitted with in-wheel motors, and because of the control you can apply, it's absolutely unstoppable off-road. And apparently, because these motors are sealed, there's no worry about submerging them in water or mud or whatever you want to go and drive through. Longevity and durability has already been worked out.
Do you know what? These really work. I did have my suspicions about them, but driving the cars with them actually fitted, they're actually brilliant. You could have 3 failures and still get home.
The weird thing is, this might seem like very cutting-edge tech, but in-wheel electric motors are not new. In fact, the tech is very, very old. And weirdly, it was invented by Porsche. As in, literally, a 25-year-old Ferdinand Porsche in 1900, well before he incorporated the Porsche car company. The Lohner Porsche of 1900 was a front-wheel drive, hub-motored carriage that eliminated the need for all the stuff associated with cars, so there are no belts, gears or transmission. 7 horsepower doesn't sound like much, but in a vehicle with the same dynamic ability as the average Silverline pram, it was probably enough. It was hailed as the epoch-making development, and later Porsche also created the world's first hybrid, the Semper Vivus, which added a gas engine to charge the batteries. But after producing about 300 vehicles, Lohner stopped making in-wheel powered EVs, and the tech has been relegated to special projects like lunar rovers and some mining equipment, until now.
You know what? The Emily GT is actually a weirdly mature bit of design and technology. It's amazing what they came up with in 10 months, because this is a properly good looking car, and those in-wheel motors provide some really exciting possibilities. Is this the kind of future that we're looking at for electric motivation? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out.
People keep on asking me, what is going on with Saab? You know Saab? Yeah, the old company that used to make cars that people love for their weirdness and quirky uniqueness. Apparently, architects love them. Well, yes, they did re-emerge. They did come up with this incredible electric car with over 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers of range. But unfortunately, it appears as though it won't be likely to see the light of day. Here is why this car is being almost suppressed from being released. I mean, seriously, this thing looks unreal. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Right behind me, that's my primary means of transport. And it's busted. I'm fixing it right now. Electric skateboards. The boys and I, that's what we ride here in Thailand. It's the best way to get around. And guess what? No tailpipe emissions. Costs almost nothing to charge. Literally cost me about 2 cents to do a 10-kilometer journey. 2 cents. When it's working. Speaking of when it's working, Saab, they changed their name to Nevs after they went bankrupt. And this is the company that emerged from the ashes of Saab's bankruptcy. Intriguingly, they actually came about more than a decade ago. They've been working on this electric sedan, which looks absolutely mind-blowingly awesome, for many years now. However, it's been put into hibernation. I'll explain what that means in just a second. The Emily GT is claimed to be capable of driving more than 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles in between charges. That's a massive range. That's thanks to a massive 175 kilowatt hour battery. That seems like overkill to me. I'm not sure that's really necessary, but they wanted it, so they made it. However, there are different options. Battery capacities of 140 kilowatt hours and a 105 kilowatt hour battery size were also planned for production, as was 11 kilowatt wireless charging via a pad connected to a fixed hub. So this would have been, or could still potentially be, an electric car you can charge very quickly at home using a wireless charging pad. I don't know if you think that's an idea or not, but if you're interested in wireless charging, I've made a couple of videos about it. I'll put some links in the description. In-wheel motors, which is quite unusual for electric cars and different to that skateboard behind me. Now, most vehicles, most electric products use a belt drive. That uses a belt drive, but there is the option of hub motors. So this had hub motors, and those motors made 121 horsepower each, mounted to every wheel, giving the vehicle a total of 484 horsepower. Now, hub motors are a little bit controversial. No one really knows how they're going to go long term in an electric car, because you think about it, right? The wheel takes a lot of the impact from the road, but Saab were convinced that this is the best choice. One of the reasons for that was it gives finer control of torque vectoring. Apparently, such was the extent of the vectoring that the car could turn without using the steering wheel, just using the motors themselves. Program director and former Saab engineer Peter Dahl told Swedish publication Karup, "The possibilities for torque vectoring are amazing. All torque can be controlled. It's like changing from straight slalom skis to carving skis." In addition, the wheel motors ensure that all backlash is eliminated, resulting in an incredibly direct and solid feeling. I'm not sure what he means by backlash. Maybe if there's an engineer there, you can explain that to us all. Anyhow, he said on the downside, the unsprung weight on each wheel is higher. We have solved that with a good chassis with air suspension and active dampers. Now, one of the biggest reasons for, say, a bicycle being slow is when it has heavy wheels. That's why cyclists focus so much on the weight of the rotational mass of a wheel. By having hub motors, that rotational mass is significantly greater. A high-performance variant of the Emily was also in the pipeline. It was planned to have 653 horsepower and 1,623 pound-feet of torque, which is more than 2,000 newton meters. It apparently was going to be capable of doing 0 to 62 miles an hour, or 0 to 100, in 3.2 seconds. Now, the styling, it looks amazing, but does it remind you? It does for me. It reminds me of the original Saab 9.3 and a little bit of the Saab 9.5 there as well. Now, apparently it was designed by an unnamed Italian and refined by former Saab engineers, and they've done a phenomenal job, not just on the outside. I mean, the outside does look really nice, you have to admit, but the inside as well. It's very unique, different, very simple, simplistic, but not too simple. I think that this car needs to be made. The owner of the company is the Evergrande Group. Evergrande, you probably heard of them. Yeah, the massive property conglomerate who have billions of dollars of debt in China and could even spark a global depression if the company was to go bankrupt. It's very possible. They're so big, it could bring down everything with them. Well, they originally signed off on a run of 20 prototypes. However, Evergrande, which made its fortune as one of China's most prolific property developers, hit financial problems in 2020, and only 6 of these were actually built. Evergrande put Saab into hibernation last month, says Autocar. Having failed to secure a buyer, of the Swedish firm's 340 employees, 320 lost their jobs. There's still a skeleton crew of 20 staff, the ones that know how to make this thing. I think someone should buy this company. Polestar signed a lease for part of Nevs, or Saab's, Trollhättan factory, which was formerly home to Saab, according to a statement from the Swedish city. The Volvo spin-off will use the facility as an R&D base for its future EVs, and is likely to hire some of the 320 staff who were laid off by Evergrande. New Nevs, or Saab CEO Nina Salander, is seeking a buyer for the Emily project and has encouraged interested parties to contact the company. It's for sale. It's also a joy to be able to show it, she told Karup. So, anyone can come along and buy this car if they want to, and mass produce it. Would that be a good idea? I actually don't know. I mean, realistically, we don't know the weight of the car. We don't know how much it costs to produce. We don't know what the battery cells are. We really need more information to know exactly what's going on here, whether or not this is a car that could be made in the future or that is likely to be acquired by another car company. Dahl said that the project is about 1.5 years away from being production ready. He said, everything is in place to take it further into production. The prototypes are completely drivable, except that the airbag and auto braking systems are missing. The Emily prototypes use a 52 kilowatt hour battery pack from the Saab 9.3, an electric conversion of the Saab of the same name. So this company unfortunately has been put into official hibernation, but I'm hoping that someone will buy it. I think there's a high likelihood that someone will. I mean, think about it. MG, sure, they didn't go bankrupt, but they were kind of considered a bit of a laughing stock before they were purchased by Chinese company SAIC. It's very likely that another Chinese company, one not named Evergrande, will come along and buy this company because it has a good brand. People love the Saab brand, and I think it should continue. But that's just me. And hey, I'm a little bit sentimental about these old car brands. I'd love to see Saab back on the road. I don't really care who owns it, as long as someone makes the cars. And hopefully they can rehire back the 320 staff that were fired. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Almost exactly 10 months ago, we received a mission from Chairman Chu. We should build a car that shows the benefits of using in-wheel motors, and it should be a car that we build from scratch. And we started off in the beginning of December with basically this mission and a sketch that was given to us from Evergrande. We had a small team, which was positive actually, because that meant we could work very fluidly, very fast, quickly making decisions and moving forward. Incredibly challenging time period, of course. It was proposing something I don't think any of us have seen or achieved so far in our careers. Even though we're a small team, we're very international, which is good because that brings a lot of influences from around the world into focus when we're designing our vehicles or projects. But at the same time, we are based here in Sweden, so we tend to have a Scandinavian view on design and form language. But having said that, we're very aware of the cultural differences and the requirements for different markets around the world. We had a fantastic team working on the project. We worked long hours, we worked weekends, everyone was super motivated, everybody was really willing to give it their 110%, and I think that's something which the results show, to be honest. That reflects the attitude of the creative design team on this project.
To secure the high quality within this short lead time that we have had in Project Emily, we needed to be really engaged and be on site to look at the parts more often that we used to do in a normal project.
You're always looking at small details, you'd like to improve, you'd like to refine, you'd like to keep on working. As a designer, you're never finished. You can always improve that slight extra amount. But overall, given the time that we had for this project, I think the results are fantastic. I think the proportions are amazing. There's very few of the competition which can match the proportions of Emily. It's low, it's wide, incredibly sporty, incredibly dynamic looking. But at the same time, it's fresh, it's modern, it's beautifully sculpted, both interior and exterior. So for me, it's a confident design, it's original, and at the end of the day, incredibly desirable. Normally, you develop either a show car for an event like a big car fair, or you develop a prototype which is basically a very raw car, not that good looking. And in this case, we have merged these together into one product in a record time of 10 months. And that is our real big accomplishment.
Som tur är så har vi kvar väldigt många jätteduktiga bilbyggare i vår organisation som nu äntligen fick komma tillbaka till det de är experter på och få bygga bilar.
We utilized all the equipment that we have in this plant, and we didn't want to take any shortcuts. Instead, we raised the target to produce these cars as production-like as we can do, to use all the supporting processes and procedures and IT systems just to train the people to be prepared for the next build.
From a project management view, we have more given the direction of what to do. And our expert teams, which we have a lot of engagement, and we also have a lot of competence in the teams here in Trollhättan, they have been able to make a lot of decisions themselves to save time and efficiency. And also that we combine the cross-functional work with these decisions in the teams has made us extremely agile.
När vi hade byggt färdigt första bilen så gick bilen över för uppstart och första säkerhetskontrollerna. Och bara några timmar efter så började hjulen rulla för första gången. Det är enormt att få en helt ny arkitektur att fungera redan på några få timmar. Det är fantastiskt.
I'm really proud today because today we can say we have been able to develop and produce the very first running car within the Evergrande Group. And we have done so using internal Evergrande resources in Nevs, Trollhättan, Sweden.
My first impression, very relaxing drive. The torque vectoring, you can really feel it. Very, very impressed.
We've all worked really hard to make the wheel motors integrate into the vehicle really well. Integrate with the brakes, integrate with the control of the vehicle to ensure that you have a refined and credible production solution in the vehicle.
This is actually the first time that we can run it on very harsh road sections, and it performs really well.
It lights you up. You can't help but enjoy it.
The car feels like you've driven it many times before. No worries about how it's supposed to handle. You feel at home, you feel secure. It's just a perfect car.
And also the roominess inside the vehicle. You know, it's not a big vehicle, but inside it feels like a car that's 20% bigger.
Today I have witnessed a big stage in the development of the Emily program. It's a prototype still, but it's so close to be a finished car in the feeling and the design and the look of it.